Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Reflections on Living Well podcast. Happy New Year. Wow, it's been about 6 weeks since I've released an episode. That has not been my intention at all. As you know, I prefer to release weekly. That has been my intention from the beginning. Nonetheless, things happen and I have not been able to keep that up. Of course, that was not by design, as I keep saying. And I've apologized in the past about skipping weeks without recording something to let you know. And I must admit, that's a failure on my part. Things happen. It's been an interesting year for the podcast. And this last month, I got overwhelmed with other work. I got sick. And I went to visit family for the holidays. I didn't quite make the time to let you all know how things were going. And here we go. Well, it's a new year, 2026. And my goal is to continue to release episodes. I may change it to bi-weekly. I haven't quite decided yet. Let's see how it goes. I will continue to do my best to release as soon as I can, as often as I can. Yeah. With that being said, this conversation that I had with my brother Chris Pearson, really enjoyed this conversation. It was a lot of fun. I recorded it over a month ago and just didn't have an opportunity to complete all the edits and upload it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we're back. We're back. Looking forward to many conversations this year and engagement with you, the audience, as we explore together what makes life worth living, what is a good life, and what does living well mean. Without further ado, here's Chris Pearson. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did.
In order to have certain heights or certain heightened awarenesses, you also have to have an equal part of suffering. And I think that is part of living well, is understanding that that there are multitudes of ways to grow. And when we do grow, we have to embrace the reality that with that growth, there will come some cost.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reflections on Living Well podcast, where we explore perspectives on the good life in the 21st century. I am your host, Broderick Rodell. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Reflections on Living Well podcast. Today, our guest is Chris Pearson, and I am not going to read a bio for you all today. You know, I'm always complaining about that, so I'm going to do something a little different here with my brother Chris. But I will say, Chris is an acupuncturist. Probably to me, at least, maybe he thinks this way, but more importantly, he's a father who's supportive of his family, a husband. He's an activist. Yeah, the brother's doing a lot of great things in the world. I've just recently met Chris, but we've had a wonderful conversation prior to this. And yeah, I just got a lot of admiration for the brother and the work that he's doing in the world. So I think you will find his wise words. I'll find a lot of wisdom in his words today. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself versus me reading a bio. Have at it, my brother. Welcome here.
Well, I appreciate the gracious semi-introduction. I mean, it felt complete to me. Um, yeah, I think a lot of times human beings start with the doing, and we're human doings for performance and for the world's consumption. But I think you covered a good amount at the outset, but I'll just put it in context. Been an acupuncturist for about uh, 2007, 18 years. I was a body worker before that. Started in '96, so that's 29 years I've been working with bodies, working with the somatic experience, where we store emotions in our bodies. Um, that's been my profession, but because I am a father, I've been an engaged community member and seeing the importance of sharing the lessons with a larger community that I share with my sons. So I started what I call a comprehensive consciousness cultivation model that employs competitive athletics as the point of interface. Been doing that for the better part of 17 years. Started just after my clinic opened. So I say I do what I do in the clinic so that me and my family can eat, and I do what I do in the community space so that I can sleep at night. So there are different ways to be fed and cared for, and those are the two ways that I bring to the space. There's, this conversation could go many different ways. I was introduced by a mutual friend, and Jen Meek is an amazing human being, and super grateful that she gave me the nod to reach out and made this connection. Had the opportunity, the pleasure of listening to several of these conversations, and been profoundly inspired by the insights that have been shared, and find alignment or attunement in a lot of what's being offered. And in some ways, I get curious about some of the perspectives that are being held as well. So, you know, I think of myself as a catalyst for optimizing the human condition or a caretaker of narrative. Those are two things that I've been, playing with of late, thinking about the role of a story and the role of my place in it, place chronologically, place physically, place emotionally, and then the longer arc of our shared story, the human story. What is our ancestral memory? What is mine to lay attention to, and what should I sort of be listening into? And then in terms of the catalyst piece, it's like you try to tap in with those essential parts of what it means to be present, whether you're the medium or you are a moment or you are a message. Trying to be uh, aspirational, well developed, uh, non playable character, like a co star. You know what I mean? I think in our culture there's a lot of what I would call main character syndrome.
Hmm.
We start to read our own headlines, get real focused on who we are, and I think it's apropos that you chose not to read a bio, um, because that's it. Really ain't about me. It's about life, and it's about living, and it's our shared as well as unique perspectives around that we're going to be talking about. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. Love that introduction. See, audience, you don't have to deal with me reading a bio in the beginning, stumbling all over the place and throwing me off. That was beautiful, man. And I look forward to seeing how all of that comes out in this conversation. Like I said, audience, you're gonna hear some wisdom here today, and I'm very much excited for it. And I think that's what this podcast is about too: is stories, narratives, and seeing the world through various eyes, perspectives, and is only going to enhance the collective human story if we give some attention to it, shine a light of awareness on it through dialogue, through conversation, and gives us the opportunity to reflect on our own views in the process and learn something about it. It's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about thinking and I guess readapting the narrative to the moment, to what is needed in order for us to, for me, to have a more beautiful world, have more love in the world, more goodness in the world. Is we have to constantly be readapting or readjusting our narrative to support that overall outcome. So I feel like we're in alignment with that. This idea of narrative and story.
Yeah.
So with that said, we know we're going to play this little game here where we're going to tailor the conversation around the idea of the good life. So what is a good life? What does it mean to live well? What makes
Mm.
life worth living? Those are the questions I asked to spark this conversation, this exploration of story into um, what's possible in the world and meaning and significance, etc. So
Mm.
you know, have at it. What is that? What are those questions bring up for you? What does it mean for you?
Yeah. They're all slightly different takes on
Mm-hmm.
a similar theme. So, what is living well? For me, living well is living in present awareness, honoring what is felt, um, authenticating or speaking into what's real for me, at least in my present awareness, acknowledging that that will have an impact that might be different than my intent, and being willing to listen to the authentic narrative of the environment, of the moment, of the people that I'm inhabiting space and time with, and then being willing to reconcile the gap between impact and intent. And to live well is to, the youngsters say, don't duck the smoke. It's like there's a way of, a lot of times we avoid that which is uncomfortable. And I think in, previous episode, y'all were talking about, in order to have certain heights or certain heightened awarenesses, you also have to have an equal part of suffering. And I think that is part of living well, is understanding that that there are multitudes of ways to grow. And when we do grow, we have to embrace the reality that with that growth, there will come some cost. And disillusionment is one of those things. I think, I just like, I don't know, Spirit is directing my attention towards this idea that structural violence is the erasure of narrative. It is the single most devastating element of a structurally violent world, is when our stories are eradicated for the purposes of making people into things. And so
Mm-hmm.
to live well is to live in the story. To live well is to have your story cared for, not just by you, but by your community, for your story to matter, for your unique perspective to have value. Um, in terms of purpose, I think one of my spiritual advisors says, cultivate your virtue and manifest the will of heaven. It's a very Taoist perspective. I received a divine initiation back in '96 into a Taoist lineage, but I was raised Episcopalian, and my father is Southern Baptist. So I got a lot of background in various spiritual disciplines. But my sense of purpose is that you you work on being the best version of yourself by being honest about what you're seeing, where you're putting your attention, how you're treating people, and then you continue to refine and evolve and learn how to love people the way they want to be loved, not just the way that you want to love.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think when you settle into your winning formula, you try to just love the world up the way it makes sense to you. And sometimes beings in the world and situations in the world may or may not have the capacity to receive what you have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just not compromising on the values, just on the terms.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't gotta change up what your belief system is or what your purpose is, but you certainly have to adjust so that you're gonna take this love, right? Like especially with my children, with my children, it's hard. I got a 26-year-old who's neurotypical, and then I have a 19-year-old who's he's nonverbal and had some global delays as a result of a brain bleed when he was 6 weeks. And then I have a neurotypical 15-year-old. So there's a wide range of need in my household, and even outside of my household now that my eldest is off and gainfully employed, thank goodness, doing his things in the world. I've learned that Even if you got the same ingredients, the pan wasn't the same temperature when these pancakes were being prepared. And so I often refer to my youngest as the third pancake. So, you learn not to poke at them too much. You learn to let it cook. You got the temperature just right. Allow the community to hold the space because that's really what the pan is. The fire is your heart. The ingredients, that's the children. But the chef is the divine. The chef is the most high, and so you can't just grab the spatula because you want to love this way or love that way. You gotta listen to what spirit is telling you and listen to what your children are telling you, so that you can show up. And I'm reminded of my guy David Way. He's a qigong master and healer here in Oakland. He says, "Show up, shut up, add value." So
I love it.
that's one of my favorites. So it's like, okay, hard to do in a podcast, that's for sure. But
Right? Well, showing up, man. You're showing up for sure,
yeah,
man. The shut up
I'm
part,
here. Yeah, I'll be quiet.
Oh man, love it. There's so many things in that what you just said, and let's unpack it. And I'm like you said, those three questions are slightly different, but they kind of pointing to a similar theme to explore and to play with.
Mhm.
And man, there was so much in what you said, and one of the things that you talked about was being present with ourselves and being really aware and sensitive to you brought up narrative again, the story, being sensitive to our story, but also that suggested just being sensitive to so much about ourselves and the world around us, and having that type of presence, it seems to be very important for those
Mhm.
other things that you mentioned. Can you say a little bit more about that? How do we cultivate this kind of presence in your perspective, this attention,
Mhm.
if that's what you're, always correct me if I say something, that doesn't resonate, or I try to summarize what you said and that was incorrect.
Yeah, I'm in no position to do any correcting, but we can continue to refine the process and see if it's more
I love
if
it.
it lands, if it lands. I would say attention is the primary currency um, of life. You can spend it once, you never get it back. It only exponentially grows. It's one of those things that does is not subject to the law of diminishing returns. Um, whereas other currencies are devalued over time, or attention has this ability to aggregate and impact. And one of the ways that I choose to attend is by it's like becoming again. This is a theme from your show. It's like curiosity. I interrogate narrative. I ask questions of myself. I ask questions of moments. I ask questions of mediums. Um, Breathing is an excellent way to presence oneself in the moment. I've heard it said you can go weeks without food, days without water, but only minutes without breath. And so you just try to control that. Hold
Mm-hmm.
your breath as long as you can. Even if you have the will to hold your breath long enough to pass out, your body will wake up and start breathing again. And one of my dear friends, Jacob, who's become an ancestor, said, the only thing you have control of is your attention. Try to control anything. He said the universe breathes you. So, from that standpoint, how does one cultivate presence? I think, like an inventory. Can you feel your feet? Where are they? Are they in socks? Are they in shoes? Are they on the ground? Is one folded over another leg? Is one, you know, can I feel where it is in space? Okay, move up my body in an inventory. Where is my ankle? Where is my lower leg? Where is my knee? How is that affecting how I'm sitting in the chair? Because we're both sitting down. Can I feel the pressure of the chair? Where do I feel the pressure of the chair? Okay, is my body comfortable? If it's not comfortable, what is the limiting factor? How's the temperature in the room? Can I feel the air on my skin? Can I feel what I'm feeling? Is there a pressing thought from some unresolved conversation I had earlier today that's landing somewhere in my rhythm? Is it affecting my heart, either rhythmically or, emotionally? Can I be here now? Okay, wait, where are my feet again?
Mm,
Okay, there are my feet, right? Okay, where are my hands? Just kind of cycling through the process of scanning and noticing, and instead of naming, being really curious, because I think, in terms of, like, I call them vehicles of self-expression. We seek these to exact on into the world that which is felt. When you're looking for a way to get the inside out, you need a vehicle. You need a vehicle of self-expression, and there's got to be something that makes sense to somebody else. If we're here and I say, "What's why Etienne Tien Jong Wen," right? Like, I speak a little bit of Mandarin, sprechen Sie Deutsch, like, if I start talking to you in another language, we are limited by the characters that we share in common, and so I think we have to decide on that which we intend to communicate. There's two primary narratives that are running all the time for every person. One is emotive, one is communicative. And if those vehicles of self-expression don't have language, then I languish in them. And I like to play with words, like, suffixes carry lots of meaning, like ish is kana, so when you languishing, it's just you ish, like, it's kind of, I'm kind of saying it, but I'm really feeling it. But when I language, like the age at the end, that comes with experience, because now I got a
mm-hmm,
word for it. When I can call to you, Broderick, and I can call your name, you can respond. But if I don't know your name, you don't know who I'm talking to.
mm-hmm,
So, one of those practices is learning the anatomy of the felt experience, learning the anatomy of the physical form, learning the anatomy of the social landscape, gaining names for those things so that I can call to them in a meaningful way, develop a rapport with the knowing of those things, and then be able to bring the inside of the lived experience outside to share. Um, and in a communicative sense, that's to build community and build understanding. But in an emotive sense, this is just to get it out.
mm-hmm,
I'm not worried about how it lands. You know, I don't care if you're watching a movie. I don't care if you're with your best friend. I'm hungry. You think about a baby, or like my nonverbal son, he may interrupt us at some point because he's largely an emotive communicator, which effectively means, like, if I'm feeling something and I don't have words, I'm going to just feel. And you're going to feel all this feeling. A baby that's wet, the cry is indistinguishable from hunger. It's indistinguishable from cold. It's indistinguishable from isolation, from any other felt experience. It's just that's the one word I know,
mm-hmm,
And it's funny because as I'm talking, I was thinking about Bruce Lee. It's, I don't fear the man that practices 1,000 kicks a single time. I fear the man who practices a single kick 1,000 times. So when we think about presence and we think about awareness and attention, presencing yourself, it don't matter the protocol you use to engage it, just do it so much that you are so familiar to yourself that you can notice the subtle fluctuations and subtleties of your lived experience. Because some people need yoga, some people need qigong, some people need running, some people need massage, some people need, steam, dry, cold. Like, everybody's got a different winning formula, and just do what you do so much and so frequently with conviction and willingness that you have no choice but to learn about, what you're feeling. So you don't have to languish in it. You can language it.
mm. Beautiful, man. So much there. I love it. And starting with that curiosity
Hmm.
and being receptive. That curiosity is one powerful thing because from that curiosity we start to, like you said, we begin to interrogate ourselves. We start to ask ourselves questions. The power of asking questions. Because when we're asking questions and we have curiosity, we're open and we're receptive to what is present, what arises, what comes up. And the thing I love what you said too is when I want to take notice of myself, or I ask myself a question of what is happening, I don't need to look for a name yet. Let me just see what's actually happening. Now,
Hmm.
it's important to name it, as you mentioned. There's some importance to putting a word to something so that you can communicate, yeah, with others, but also with ourselves as we have this internal dialogue. Somewhere
Hmm.
we can, because, a word is just a symbolic representation of something, an experience. And if
Hmm.
I'm having an internal conversation with myself, I want to like talk about these different experiences that I've had and compare them and explore them and discern what is going on in my experience by the names that I give to them. But
Hmm.
I don't need the name first. And I
Hmm.
think sometimes we're looking for some, for instance, someone like, I'm looking for fear inside of myself. I know, no, fear was happening inside of yourself. You might call it fear, but there's a spectrum of fear. What does that mean? It's just one word. It can never really truly name what your experience really is. It's just a symbolic representation of that experience. And the word fear, for in this example, is maybe that's just that's the average. That's the mean, but there's a whole bell curve of experience, and you're just taking that one word to represent the mean of that large bell curve of experience that we call, say, for instance, fear. But the most important thing that you're saying, and I feel, not most important. That's not what that is not the most important, but an important thing that you're saying is to be to interrogate ourselves, to be sensitive to what is actually happening. Now, when I go into conversation, I begin to communicate, say verbally with words and language, that I can have a conversation to explore that. And then I go back and check in with myself. Was fear the right way of sharing that? Or it's a different degree of fear, it's a type of fear, it has a different texture. By doing all of that and just constantly doing that, we will gain a deeper insight into what we are experiencing in our moment. We increase the likelihood of being really present with ourselves. And in the process of doing that, we can much more effectively communicate to others what is actually happening in our experience. But just if we just looking at the verbal aspect of this, and then the whole emotive part is what you're saying. Woo, that's that's a whole nother thing. And being able to learn how to attend to one's feelings and how those feelings express themselves in body. Um, Another thing that you said too is that I really liked is there are so many different ways of learning how to do this. But what is required is consistency. To consistently engage in one's with oneself with curiosity. I think curiosity is still central, and asking ourselves questions is still central. But the way that that shows up for you, the way that it shows up for me, it's going to be different. We have different personalities, different ways of expressing ourselves, different histories. We have a common history, of course, but there are these subtle differences that the differences that um, make the world a more beautiful place, and that diversity in ways that we can express ourselves. But we can still interact with each other and have dialogue and conversation with each other, even though we may have come to that realization or that understanding slightly different because the tools that we use are different, but we can still engage in conversation and explore together because we both share curiosity. We're
Yeah.
both cultivating attention, awareness, sensitivity. We're both asking ourselves questions. Those things I think are beautiful. I'm gonna shut up right now, but I just want to just throw it out there. That's some of the stuff that this brother just said. There's a lot there. There's even more, but I just want to say a little bit of to some of those things that you're saying, and you can say whatever you want about that, what I just said, and if, to explore a little bit more.
It was funny. I was listening, and when you said whole emotive, I heard first holy motive.
I love it.
And I was like, yo, that's dope. Like
I
the
know.
holy motive.
I know.
And then I went to Lao Tzu, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, the name that can be named. And then I
Yeah.
was like, but in John, they said at first there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And I was like, huh, oh wow. And then in the hip hop community, when you have the affirmative, it's like Word, so
Right.
word sound is power. And so
Right.
just appreciating the many many paths to the mountaintop. Um, but like the emotive narrative, the holy motive, I love
Right.
it.
I love
The
it.
whole, you're right, like that piece lands in a lived experience, and I
Mm.
think for most practitioners of awareness, of attention, of healing, of self refinement, there is kind of this ongoing dialogue where we inhabit a body or we have a body. My understanding of the Asar Aset tradition, which is the Kemetic tradition of energy cultivation or chi cultivation, that is the highest expression of spirituality is the body. So we
Mm.
don't have a body, we are a body.
Hmm.
And so in our bodies live our stories,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
so there's a continuity. You got like a blood inheritance, you got a genetic memory, because they say that like some of the things that we inherit from an epigenetic standpoint come from the genetic code far prior to our like behavioral cultivation. So it's like showing up to Denny's with your friends when you were in high school and everybody ate something, and then a couple of people get up and leave, and when it's your turn to leave, you say, "Well, I didn't buy that. I didn't eat that. That wasn't me. They had that before I got here, but I'm left with the bill." And that's kind of like the ancestral or intergenerational stuff. It's like there are things that show up in our life that may not be ours, but it's ours to work through.
Hmm.
And in terms of like the living word or the living story within the body, there's a story that I'm telling. There are words that live within me. There is a feeling or a felt experience that I have cultivated, but my body is the expression of 7 generations of wisdom. I am the dream of my ancestors. When I walk into a room, I don't walk into the room. I think Maya Angelou said, I walk in and my ancestors walk in with me.
Mm.
So that vision of like my body is actually like it's you remember Pigpen from Peanuts?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Pigpen was a character, Charlie Brown, there was Peppermint Patty. Anyhow,
Mm.
Pigpen was the
Oh
dude who
yeah. Oh
was
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right. And he had the dust clouds behind him
Yep.
everywhere he went.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's how I think about ancestral stuff. It's like we
Mm.
walk through life and there's this coming with us.
Hmm.
Some of it is a resource, some of it is power, some of it is insight, maybe a gift that you have. Maybe you were, from a long line of storytellers, and this is just a medium that you've chosen. And who knows how far back this practice has gone. But
Hmm.
you are here in this moment to uphold this part of the story, and it lives in your body. Well, where does it live? In the acupuncture world, we say the organs transmit energy to the extremities,
Mm.
and the extremities transmit energy back to the organs. And so there are 12 primary pathways, three that come from the heart to the hand, three that come from the hand to the face, three that come from the face to the feet, three that come from the feet back to the heart. And the flow goes heart to hand, hand to face to foot. And so that happens on 3 levels: Tian, Di, Ren, heaven, earth, and human. So if I'm thinking about it from that standpoint, it's like, oh, okay, I reach out and I touch the world, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I have to keep walking forward, and the energy goes down to my feet, and then my heart opens up again. I'm like, oh, I could do it. Then I reach out and I touch myself, oh gosh, and then I have to keep walking forward, right? And so there's this piece of the body reclaiming story, creating story, preparing story. I don't have a body. I am a body. I don't live in a body. Life lives through my body. I ask for things from nature to fill and nourish and care for me, only for me to take for a moment the divine intelligence that it carries. Allow me to sit with it. And then I release it back so that it can become a part of some other process. You know, and so it's like when I think about it from that standpoint, I am born of the earth. I am a fruiting body of a living body that is the planet. You know how apple trees produce apples? The planet peoples. You feel me? So like this is a peopling organism that we are all a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that standpoint, like I'm not even this body. I am something far greater. I am that which is light moving in all directions at the speed of light times itself. I'm here to just remind you of all the things you already know. Everything that makes sense to you, you've already done.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So I'm
Oh
I'm
yeah.
so I'm looking at it like, well, what is the role of the the cultivator or the practitioner? It is not to dissuade someone from self-importance, but rather to expand their sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
small group hominids by definition. You know, that's what they say anthropology. Anthropology, they say, oh, it's food preservation techniques led to task differentiation and specialization, and that's how you get monumental architecture. And the hallmark of a civilization is monumental architecture. And you can only do that if you got enough food,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you could be really good at what you do, and somebody else can be really good at what they do because you're eating. You're not spending all day looking for your things. So if that's the case, then it's like, all right, this high degree of specialization means I don't need the same number of people in my pod, except for we live in a relational tensegrity. We live in relationship to one another. I might not rely on you to bring the bananas. I may not rely on you to bring the wheat or the corn or the whatever, but you bring in the heat of internal transformation, tapas, right? You're bringing
Mm-hmm.
that to me in this moment. And so, because you've been cultivating, we require one another, even though we're not relying on each other directly for like that sustenance. We need each other, and I think it's easy to forget when I got Instacart and DoorDash and all of these things. You know, they allow you to remain in a fiction that I could do it on my own,
Mm-hmm.
and we just can't. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you remember the mobiles like that you hang above a crib or whatever?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like one has a really big piece, and the other one has a small piece, but then a couple of other pieces, and this is life.
Mm-hmm.
We have this relationship tensegrity, this mobile of frayed, fried, and fantastic semi-conscious accumulations that make it who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody pulls on one thing, the whole thing starts moving. It's like, wait a second, where was that? I didn't even know that that was a thing. Like you said something to me that made me think about all these other things, and like how did that happen?
Right.
So
Yeah. I love it, man. That's it. That's the magic of it. And I think right there, what you said at the end, like through conversation, through interactions, not even just in conversations, everything that we do, we're part of the field. We're all in expressions of the earth. We're expressions of the universe. We're expressions of the divine.
mm,
However one wants to name all of that, we're all an expression of it. We're not
mm,
just Yeah, when we're in our ordinary language, we talk about, oh, my body, and my body is separate from myself. I'm like,
mm,
okay, I see why you may be saying that in that context, but what you're saying, which I agree with 100%, is that okay, if you want to talk like that, that's fine to an extent, but that's
mm,
not necessarily it, though.
mm,
Like, how do we? Because if we change and modify our language, I
mhm,
think to recognize that, oh, okay, I am on the earth, I am
mhm,
everything that exists. So if I start to claim that identity,
mhm,
acknowledge that which is true, I think
mhm,
is true, which I think we can say is a relatively true, relative truth,
mhm,
then it's
mhm.
going to inform how I show up, how I act, my
100%.
choices, how I engage in my relationships, how
You
I
can know you can know a tree by its fruit.
exactly. 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 And that fruit is going to just to use that analogy, that fruit is going to give to something else. It's going to
Mm,
give life to something else.
mm,
It's going to come back into the earth. It's going to be
mm,
all recycled. And
mm,
and when we acknowledge that about ourselves and about our interactions with everyone else, it's going to it, I guess presuppose in our minds, like, who am I, and how do I relate?
mm,
What am I dependent on?
mm,
I can't do this all by myself. You're right. We can pick up our phones and we just hit this little button, and we think we can do it all ourselves. And especially in our culture, it's very economically conducive to our form of capitalism, consumer capitalism, and our hierarchy that we've set up in terms of social capital and how that's related to um, consumption and all these various things. All of
mm,
that's going to influence that narrative, that story that we're told,
mhm.
and we can buy into it. We can really believe it, but it's not
Sure.
true. It's not true. It's not the way things really are. It's a
Mm.
fiction,
Yes.
and we just need a better fiction. A fiction that's a
W-
little more closer to what is actually real.
well, I'm gonna share. My auntie Valerie said something to me. I think I was 19 years old. I'm 50 now. She said, "You have a responsibility." I said, "What you mean, auntie?" She said, "Responsibility is really two words." I said, what?" She said, "Respond and ability."
Right.
You have the ability to respond to the awareness that you hold.
Mm-hmm.
And as your awareness grows, your ability to respond grows. So
Mm-hmm.
your response ability grows.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't feign awareness. So what our role as cultivators is really about bringing attention back to attention
Mm-hmm.
so that awareness can itself be the teacher. Because as you become aware, then your ability to respond grows. If you're doing Duolingo and you're learning another language, ya at e abine, like good morning in Diné, like, or buenos dias, or guten morgen, or, saan. Like, there's all these different ways to say good morning.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not doing the work to expand my awareness, then I'm not going to be responsible for much.
No.
Because I'm not able to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most of the time people are just held hostage by their feelings because they forgot to give them a name and let them know that they're seen.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, daddy, look at me, look at me, look what I did. What'd you do, son? I made mud. Okay, you just wanted me to see you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so to me, that's what feelings are. They're
Mm-hmm.
our children. They are the creations that come from interplay between people. We have an interaction. This experience we have is our child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the feelings that come with that get put in the body somewhere. The reason why I mentioned the meridians is every organ has a virtue, every organ has an emotion. So there's a map in the body that can tell me where my feelings live.
Mm-hmm.
Grief, grief lives right here, but so too does righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, joy lives right here, but so too does propriety or thought for the seventh generation. You feel me? Like
Oh yeah.
anxiety starts just below my eyes, but so too does trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I'm thinking about, oh, well, that runs here and it runs down here, and you know, if I could trace my whole body and you could see it, like there's a map for our feelings. You are not a spirit having a human experience. You are the
Yes,
experience.
exactly. That's it. I love it.
You know, Jimi Hendrix. Have you
Oh,
ever been experienced? Yes.
I love it. We are experience itself. Exactly. We are experience itself, and we get to play in this
Mm,
world
mm,
of experience and
mhm,
explore. And you're right. As we enhance our awareness, as we develop with you having that curiosity, asking those questions, paying attention,
mhm,
increasing our awareness, increasing our sensitivity, increasing our capacity to name our experiences so that we can communicate these things,
mhm,
we're going to be able to respond to the world. We're going to have a lot more responsibility. I think I love it. I've never heard that, and I like it. And this respondability thing, I want to play with
mm,
that.
mhm,
And when you hear from like we're responsible for each other,
mm,
but I don't know that unless I do what you just mentioned. I don't know that unless I cultivate that awareness. I don't know that unless I understand that there is a interdependency here. I depend on
mhm,
you. Even if I've
mhm,
never met you, I still have a
mm,
dependency on you. I
mm,
depend on you
mm,
just for simplicity's sake. I
mm,
depend on you doing the quote unquote right thing.
mhm,
Because if you're doing the right thing in terms of a good world, beautiful world,
mhm,
then I'm dependent on you to do that. Because when I go out
mhm,
in the world, if I want to see something beautiful, I'm dependent
mm,
on beings out there manifesting beauty in the world.
mhm,
And just like you're dependent on me,
mm,
if you're interested in beauty or you're interested
mm,
in love
mm,
or
mm,
kindness, if I'm not
mm.
being kind in the world, I'm not contributing to kindness in the world.
Well, sure
Uh,
you are.
no,
Sure you are. You're giving someone a chance to offer you kindness for your forgetting.
it's true that, true that. I work.
You feel me? So like
Yeah, it's true that.
I was thinking about, you know, truth emerges in tradition, not because it's in the tradition, but because it is true,
Mm-hmm. True.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not the truth because I said it. It's the truth because it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
in the tradition because it's the truth. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
truth because it's in the tradition.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to know you out in the world doing right or living in truth because I can see it in your behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm curious about the why, that has less to do with you and more to do with what I'm listening for.
Mm-hmm.
What I can focus on is the how.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And the
Yes.
responsibility that I hold is taking that responsibility and acting in a way, because you said something earlier, those of us who are trying to who are, I don't know, who are facilitating with intention,
Hmm.
just for to say goodness in the world.
Hmm.
I have a responsibility to plant those seeds or to engage in that. Once I have that awareness, once I have a sensitivity, the knowledge that I have, how do I translate that into wisdom? And that wisdom is in how I show up. So if I'm not showing up in the ways for kindness, if I'm not showing up in kindness, it's going to happen. I'm going to slip. I'm not going to always do it. But if I'm
Hmm.
not intentionally or intending to show up in kindness, I'm going to have impact on the field. Now, someone will see that and be like, use me as an example. This is what not to do. You
Hmm.
can be kind
Hmm.
because this person
Hmm.
is expressing a lack of kindness in the world. But I think that
Yes.
we can increase the likelihood of beauty, of goodness in the world when there's enough of us that's actually capable of doing it. There's enough of us who can see someone who's not being
mm,
kind and can
mm,
see
mm,
that and be like, that's an example of what kindness is not, as an example.
mm.
Being able to say that behavior, I learned that, oh wow, that's harmful. That's painful. I don't want to do that. I don't want to behave in that way. It's important to have those voices in the world that is conveying that idea, that's contributing
Sure,
to a greater narrative
sure,
that's going to support the outcome.
sure. Well, it's interesting. I think correction is one of our responsibilities.
Yeah.
But relationally, I think about three parts: connection, direction, correction.
Hmm.
These are like the three underpinnings of a healthy relationship
Yeah.
for living well. If I don't first have a connection with you, any direction that you give to me is going to feel like an order or is going to feel like inappropriate,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I go to correction before I've given direction, then the assumption is that I know the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I may or may not know what's right for Broderick
Mm-hmm.
because Broderick's unique way of feeling seen, I have to learn through connection.
Yeah.
So when I think about like, yeah, I use coach as a metaphor because I coach coaches at this point. That's part of the work that I'm doing in the community, and that is you must build rapport with your player before you tell them what to do. You
Mm-hmm.
must tell them what to do before you tell them what to correct.
Yeah.
We over index in our culture on correction. We have a department of corrections. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have a department of connections. We
Right.
don't have a department of directions. We have education, but what is education? Education is to lead out.
Mm-hmm.
That implies it's already there.
Mm-hmm.
So educate is like that's the root word of to educate is to pull out what's there. In Chuanzi, the Taoist philosopher said to illuminate luminous virtue. So it's like you just gotta take the time to understand what somebody's love language is,
Yeah.
what somebody's way is. Connect with me, know me, and when you know me, then you can tell me how to act.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll listen
Mm-hmm.
because you've taken the time to be like, no, this is the way I want to be loved. And if I miss, because I'm gonna assume that you live in the world with integrity, with love, with kindness forward. If something doesn't line up, I'm gonna assume good intent. I'm gonna assume positive intent. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna assume harm. If harm happens, and it does happen,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a quote Bob Marley. Everyone in this life will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to decide which ones are worth hurting for. So
Yeah.
it is proximity that guarantees harm.
Mm-hmm.
If I connect with you and I get close enough, you gonna hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be on purpose,
No.
right? And so
Yeah.
and so then I gotta be willing to do the emotional labor required to bridge that gap. The previous thing I was talking about, the reconciliation, the accounting, to be held to account, to be accountable, the reconciliation process between my debits and my credits or my intentions and my impact. I gotta get in there with you and be like, okay, I didn't mean to cut you off. I really wanted to say this thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to share with you this experience. And I know you got a lot on your mind because you've been doing this for a while, but this is my first time, so I'm really excited to be talking to you. So I might be talking a lot, so I
No.
apologize for
I
that.
love it.
But
Uh, This is it right here, folks. For me, this is this game. What you're just saying, and we're just trying to connect. We aren't. I don't think we're trying. We're doing it. We're
mm,
in this connection together. We're in life. that's the beauty of existing in this life, is that it's not going to be perfect, yet it is perfect in what it's doing.
mm,
This interaction, this engagement, and this play, this exploration of ideas, this excitement, this this uh, this attempt to understand. And for me, that's what we can ask for. That makes life worth living,
mm,
is what we're doing in the conversation, in the interaction, in the relationship, in the
mm,
relating process. Folks, it's not going to be perfect. So you don't have to be afraid of it. If you
mm,
expect it to be all, perfect and ease all the time, no, that's not the nature of things. And like there is going to be challenge in life. You can
mm,
find ease in difficulty, you can find ease in the challenge, but that ease
mm,
is different. It's relative to what experience that you may be having in that moment. And I think
mm,
these types of explorations, for me, is what's necessary
mm,
to come to realization, to come to understanding. And through our exploration together, like you hit it on, for me personally, I can say that's right about me. My intentions are always good. I do. That's my intention. You said something
mhm,
earlier about um, our ancestral heritage. You can look at it from a genetic perspective,
mm, mhm,
epigenetic
mm,
perspective. I think
mm,
genetics are overrated. It's just based on the instruction manual, but that's a whole nother
mhm,
conversation. We can look at it through these various avenues. But I have impulses inside of me that I don't have an awareness of. That's the legacy of, I don't know, let's just say the history of this whole planet,
mm,
billions of years. I have
mhm,
impulses, I have things that I do that I haven't really contained, that I don't fully understand. I might have an intention to do something one way, and it may come out in a different way. Or
mm,
maybe I was traumatized as a kid and got beat so bad that I've forgotten the thing I have a sensitivity to something that's similar to that, and I might strike out or
mm,
yell at you, even though I meditate every day, even though I pray every day to
mhm,
try to be a loving person. I have this
mhm,
podcast talking about
mhm,
being a
mhm,
loving person. Trust me, I put
mhm,
a lot of intention into
mhm,
trying to cultivate that, and I still will likely do something in this life
mm,
that is going to cause harm in some kind of way. But that's
mhm,
not my intention at all. I need a
mhm,
player in this game that can understand that can hold me and then like, I see that you're working at it. I see that, like, but you know what? That had that impact on me. Now let's have
mm,
this conversation about that. Or
mhm,
was that
mhm,
impact? I'm like, hold on for a minute now. Now you're
mhm,
throwing blame onto me now. Now I
mm,
know I had that
mm,
impact, but there you're
mm,
playing something in this
mhm,
as
mhm,
well. You can't just
mhm,
say that my impact is way more important than intention. I'm like, no, not always. Intention is
mhm,
always more important than impact. Well, no, not always.
mhm,
How
mhm,
do
mhm,
we flow together and communicate together and fuck up at the same time,
mm.
and then also make something beautiful together? And I
Right,
think
right,
that
right.
that's the nature of, for me,
Mhm,
a good life, a beautiful life. It's not that it's always going to be pleasurable. It's
mm,
that, how do we work through the moments of challenge and difficulty and transform it into something beautiful, like that lotus coming out of that mud?
mm, mm,
Um, it's it's
mm.
it's difficult, but for me, that's it. That's a part of life, right? That's
A
what I
hundred
feel.
percent. Oh yeah. I mean, in the business of the isness, you are whole, perfect, and complete in all ways, always. And at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, you're a work in progress.
Right? Always.
So, so like, if I'm in the business of the isness, the only currency that matters is attention,
Mhm. Right?
because it is what it is, right? And if I'm really there, then it's like, okay, I'll work with you.
Mm-hmm.
I will work with you because you are whole, perfect, and complete in all ways, always. You know, like I think we need to reframe the idea of perfection,
Mm-hmm.
not as an unattainable, but as an absolute state of existence. You are already perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The only imperfection is believing that you're not,
Mm-hmm.
or believing that anyone else is not. You are the expression of the divine. How could that be wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I got to be willing to do the work that the lesson requires.
Right?
You
Exactly.
know, because there are going to be some word problems, right? And there's more than one solution. Sometimes there's a remainder, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so, to use that math metaphor, you remember when you were young, like you could have a remainder. You didn't have to work it all out. There would be a
Right.
remainder. Like, okay, I did this, the remainder three. Okay, cool. Like that's just what it is.
That's just what it is. In this situation, in this moment, that's what
Right.
I love this idea of it is perfect in itself, but we have to come to a realization of that perfection. And then this when we use in common language like, oh, it needs to be perfect, like, no, we want it to be other than its own perfection. That's the
Right.
problem. We want it to be something that it is not, and we're confined to our narrow
Say that
perspective.
again. Say that again.
I don't even know
You
what.
just said the like the difficulty is when you want it to be something that it isn't.
Right? That's it.
Because the is.
That's it.
When I can wholly accept the isness,
Hmm.
then ain't nothing wrong with it. I just got to be willing to do the work that the problem requires, that the challenge is calling me forward to do. And only when you have those practices in place, feeling my heart, realizing I reach out, realizing when I touch, it's not what I thought. I got to keep walking.
Hmm.
From my heart to my hand to my face to my foot
Yeah.
back to my heart. This poetry of motion.
Hmm.
It's poetry in motion, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like it is that love cultivating practice.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be simply a pleasure practice, although it feels good to feel good.
Yeah, it feels good to feel good.
You know
Yeah.
why? Because feeling bad feels so bad.
Right, exactly. That feeling
So,
good keeps us going.
right. Well, so does the feeling bad because like I
Oh,
can't
it's
have
true.
I can't have hot without cold. I can't have
Hmm.
sun without shadow. Even the most perfect consciousness at high noon on the equator, the moment they left the foot, they cast in a shadow.
Hmm.
But when your heart faces the light, the shadow is always one step behind.
Hmm.
The moment you turn your back on the light, you chasing shadows.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Exactly. And I think starting from the beginning of this, and I think we agree on this. We'll agree, whatever I'm saying. Words, words. There's
Word,
some
word.
concurrence. There's some. I know word.
Word,
That's it.
word.
If I speak my normal language, I'm like word. No one will understand what the hell we're talking about.
Right, right, right. No,
But that's the
I give him
idea.
more credit.
I don't. I give up.
I feel it. I feel
And I'm like, when we expand that awareness, like you're saying,
hmm
our attention, and like I
Yes.
say, when we expand we have this narrow window that we see the world through, but when we expand that window, when we expand our perspective through
hmm
perspective taking, through having conversations with others, or listening to conversations such as this, and you expand that worldview, you get to see the isness in a different light. Then
hmm
we were less likely to contract
hmm
or to suppose that the universe, that the isness, the being, God, divine, can
hmm
conform to our idea of what it is. That's
hmm
idolatry. And most of us are engaged in idolatry because I know that this is what it is. I'm like, you can't confine the spirit of the divine into you and your own idea of what things are. It's useful tool for the divine to express itself, to play itself in this theater of living, but to assume that I can figure it all. I have the we have the capacity to expand in our own individual bodies, but to assume that the world is as I say it is. No. How do I meet it with presence as it is? And like you're saying, to contend with whatever is arising moment to moment. That's beautiful. And we get to, and that process is a process of play. The moment we come into existence, there's a contraction. The way I look at it, one way of looking at it.
hmm
One way of coming to, we contract. And then we just,
Condensation, coalescing, like it
yeah.
is like morning dew.
Hmm. But all of us are contractions. I look at, we're all like
Yeah,
nodes in this field of
yeah,
existence.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and these different nodes have the capacity to interact with itself. God has
Yeah.
a spirit has it interacts with itself through us in our
Yes.
relationships, in our engagement, in this
Yes.
conversation that we're having, and we have
Mm-hmm.
different ways of expressing things, but yet we continually engage in the conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you're feeling, but I'm feeling that connection. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm feeling that connection of spirit
Of course, you know what
through
I'm
the
feeling.
dialogue, through the conversation.
Of course, you know what I'm feeling because you feeling it.
Right? I'm feeling it. You
Right.
know? And it's like that's for me, that makes life worth it's worth it, fam. It's
Mm-hmm.
the good that's the good life. And now I want to get enhancing my education. I want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure my financial resources are such that I can have minimal stress. I want to take care of my
Mm.
body. I want to do all these various things to facilitate the experience of that we're talking of, that we're
I
come
say.
pointing to with all these
Mm-hmm.
words that we're using, that we're playing with.
There it is. There it is.
Man, we can go here for hours, I
Man,
think,
come
because
on.
there's so
We
much
just
that
scratched the
we
surface.
just scratched the surface. And the
Mm-hmm.
audience are like, "What in the world are they talking about?" I'm like, "Just listen to it
No.
again. Just listen
Yeah,
to it
no.
again."
No, like honestly,
I know, I
it
know,
feels to me like we are exactly where we're supposed to be in the conversation.
for sure. Yeah.
People will bring to the conversation who they are. They'll
Hmm.
listen for what they know. They'll take from it what they make sense of, right? Like we can't treat the world the way the world is,
Hmm.
not the way it is. We treat the world the way we are.
Hmm.
So if it don't make no sense to somebody, that ain't got nothing to do with me.
I know. I'm just joking. I
You
know.
know what I mean?
I
So
know.
like
Definitely.
I'm a trust that they're gonna get exactly what they need from it, right? And they're gonna come to whatever situation they come to.
Exactly.
If there is a single question that they can walk away from this moment with, that inspires them to be curious about where their attention goes, what awareness can offer to them, then I feel like it was worth the time. Because I know I'm coming away from this conversation with some questions that I want to dig deeper into on my own in my own practice. And for me, that's worth the time. So
Right.
I thank you for the invitation. I know time is a finite resource in this digital world, and I think the long format is about an hour, so I just want to honor your time and honor the container that we've asked the audience to engage with. I know that you have a sacred space that you've cultivated here with your various guests, and it's round about this time that things start to get punctuated. We don't want to be a run-on sentence. We can do a volume 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. I definitely enjoyed myself today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to build with you. Um, I'd love to see you have some conversations with people that I love and respect that have similar formats. So I'm going to have that exchange take place so that you can, expand your audience and also expose their audience to the insights that you carry. I think that cross pollination is there's a beautiful opportunity here. So I just want to thank you again for inviting me, for allowing me to be a part of the Living Well podcast and exploring what it means to have the good life.
Hmm.
So I thank you.
Thank you, brother. I'm so happy that you took the time out of your day to show up and play with me here and exploring ideas. And I'm hungry now. I'm like, ooh, there's so much here said that I want to continue to explore. And yeah, let's do volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the podcast, off the podcast, or whatever.
I'm with it.
I appreciate you, man. So much love to you and the work that you're doing in the world
Mm,
as a therapist, or the acupuncturist, as a father, as a community, a supporter of youth in the community.
mm,
It's a beautiful thing, man, and it's good for you to it's good for us to hear and your perspective, your philosophy on life. Just you're right. We just scratched the surface of it, and
mm,
yeah, audience, hope you got a lot out of this conversation. And like he said, even if it's just a question, even if it's like, oh, I don't know about that, great.
mm,
That's good, actually. That's actually really good. And
mhm,
and then you dig into it.
mhm.
So thank you so much for showing up and being here, brother.
Appreciate you, fam.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope this conversation has inspired you to reflect on your own views of the good life. If you enjoyed the show and want to hear more inspiring and thought provoking conversations, please follow, write a review, and rate us on your favorite podcast app. If you are tuning in on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated.